Welcome back, everybody, to Take Back Your Power, brought to you by Brain Soul Success. I am so excited for you to meet our guest today, Amber Ybarra. She's actually my coach. I'm in another mastermind, and she's our accountability coach and has been doing such a great job there. And I was like, let's do this interview, right? Why not? Absolutely. Because look at this, look at the skills and the background that you have here. So I'm just going to kind of dive into your bio, and then we'll dive into some questions here today. But, Amber's the #1 success architect in the nation under 40. She's an award-winning author, a keynote speaker, a former Sign Plus model turned women in construction. We want to know what that means. Amber is on a mission to help leaders and entrepreneurs create and sustain fulfillment in their life and their business. And she has this awesome Remodel You methodology she'll go into today. She's also certified in science of well-being through Yale University, as well as her work was on the list, New York Weekly, the Wall Street Journal, Voyage Dallas, Fox News, CNBC, Yahoo Finance, and the Digital Journal, and much more. It's just a pleasure to have you here today on the show. So welcome, Amber.
Thank you so much. I'm grateful to be here with you.
Yeah, it's really, really, really fun. I love, love, love interviewing people like yourself and, curious about some things. So actually the first thing I'm curious about is when you say, Sign Plus model turn women in construction. What does that mean?
Yeah, great question. I had the privilege of, I grew up in a super small town, didn't even have a Walmart when I grew up. I mean, super small. In Uvalde, Texas is where I grew up. And I was scouted. I used to be on stages and sing the national anthem for football games and rodeos, and singing. The stage was the place I felt comfortable with music. And a lady named Larry Nelson came to me, picked me up, and helped sign me. She became my mother agent and what I call now a mentor, which I didn't realize what that was back then. And she really invested and saw something in me and said, you know what? You're Latina, you're 5'10", which is pretty rare because I'm kind of a mix. And she's like, you'd be a great model. And so at 15, I started my journey of modeling. By the time I was 16, I had my first signed agent, got to travel and see the world. And I was on runway, I did commercials, I was on television for other things than I'm on television for now. And but I was considered a curves model. Right now, you have this body positivity movement that's happened the last few years. Mm-hmm. But before any of that happened, I was what you would call a plus size model, which is a specific size. And so I got to work with many different agencies, including Elite Model Management, who's a world-renowned agency, and did that for a while and decided that as much as I love that industry, I have so much in here. And for those who cannot see the video right now, I'm pointing to my brain and then to my heart. And there's this beautiful thing about realizing that we're so much more than our bodies. And even though we want to fuel it the right way and take care of it and all those beautiful things, I wanted to do something else. I wanted to step into who's the Amber that can create something bigger, thus stepping into construction, doing a complete 360 and beginning my career as a woman in construction, owning a construction company now for over a decade.
Oh, that's so cool. What kind of construction?
So we went from flipping houses, which I did for about 3 years, to now we're just a contractor. We work with other huge contracting construction companies. We build fences. Very simple. It's outside the home, low liability. And we realized, because I had a business partner back then, the one thing that was so hard to find was a reliable contractor. You could flip homes, and people who invested in real estate, you're working on all these projects, but people are, you're giving them deposits, they're leaving with your money, they're not showing up on time, they're no call, no shows. And I thought, where is the blue ocean strategy in all of this? And I thought, well, why don't we become the contractor that's just reliable, that shows up, that calls the people back. And with those simple principles and values instilled in a company, I've been able to build City Line Finsco, which I've had for over a decade now.
That is so awesome. You do have a sharp brain. Yes, you can tell you were thinking through that. You absolutely thought through that and said, hey, how can we be different? And showed up differently and did it, and then anytime we own a business and have to run a business, whatever the business is, you're going to learn something.
100%.
Yes.
100%. And then even taking a piece of what I learned in the world of modeling and networking and bringing that into skills of being personable with people. And it's just really interesting how we're never starting from scratch. We're always starting from some kind of an experience. And how can we bring that past experience into this new reality we're creating for ourselves? So
absolutely. We're all a combination of our past experiences and our dreams for the future.
100%.
Yeah. So you had a dream. So now you're doing even, a couple businesses, right? Because if you're still owning your construction company, you also create Remodel You, which is a methodology. Describe that to us. What is that about?
I feel like so many of us, and when I say we, all kind of talk about myself, I've always felt like I had to do one thing. And I came across a coach and mentor who reassured me and put this in my brain that I could always build in parallel. I don't have to sell the construction to be a full-time author coach. I could really do it all if I position myself the right way and I work smarter and not harder. And so this idea of Remodel You happened when I closed a company with a partnership many years ago, back in 2018. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I went off to Europe for a month and backpacked through there, decided to, do the cheesy eat, pray, love thing and just try to go find myself. And the interesting part about that is whatever corner of the world you're in, you can't ever escape your own mind. And so
true.
I just found so much power in coming back and realizing that the strongest thing I could do is face the thing that I didn't want to, which was close this successful company because the business was thriving, but the partnership wasn't working. I went through what I call a business divorce. And I thought, how am I supposed to, remodel my own life, right? Talking about not starting from scratch. And I was like, I'm too good at this thing in construction to not do it. So I decided to start my own company. And I started from scratch and I started on my own. And Remodel You is this idea of, you're not trying to change the foundation of who you are. We all have this set foundation of our values and our dreams and what we feel is our calling and what keeps knocking on our door of what we call our passions. So you have this home, right? You have this home of your life. And in that home, you have these different bedrooms and you have the kitchen, and that worked for a while at one point in your life. But maybe now you want to knock the roof down and build a second story, because this is the evolution that we go through as people. So to me, the idea of Remodel You is, how can we, and of course the MODEL all stand for something. It's an abbreviation for momentum, right? We have to take action now to create the momentum in our life and to create the change that we want to see in our life. We have to observe, right? I have this thing that I love to do with people where we have this life audit, because we get so stuck in our ways and it's so normal for us that we forget that sometimes we're actually doing better than we think. And then sometimes certain things that feel mundane, it's because they really are. And it's great if it's working. And some people are like, well, if it's broke, don't fix it. Have you ever heard that saying?
Yes.
Well, at the same time, great. If it's broke, don't fix it. But I like to say, if it's working, how can we view it from a different perspective to make it even better? Right. And so what are those things you have to observe in your business and your life? The E is for environment. Who are the people you're placing yourself around? Right. This comes down to where you live. It comes down to how are you organizing your home and decluttering your headspace, all the way to the people you're surrounding yourself by, and how are you investing in you? And then D, I kind of skipped over that one,
Mhm.
is how are you making sure that you're in demand, right? Because the blue ocean strategy I mentioned in construction, it kind of goes back to that. I thought, well, we're in need of reliable contractors. Let me become that. So how are you in demand in your niche if you're a business owner or entrepreneur or anything like that? And then the L is for leverage. How are we going to take all of this, your relationships, your network, your past, right? Like everything I've learned from the fashion industry, I'm still able to connect with those people and bring that into the coaching that I do today. So how am I leveraging all those past experiences? So all those things combined help you to remodel your life. That is your internal home.
I love that. And I love the questioning. So what I'm picking up from you, Amber, that I just really applaud is you have very good questioning. You know, that self-talk, when we can ask ourselves good questions, it fuels you forward. Like I had a teacher who said the question's more important than the answer.
I love that.
You know, so how are you leveraging everything, right? How are you showing up for you, your environment, all those questions that are part of that model, MODEL, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How beautiful. Wow. I love that. That's inspiration for all of you. Hey, there were 3 top tips. So are those the 3 top tips from remodeling?
Yeah, that's a great question. If I had to choose a top 3, the first would definitely be momentum,
Okay.
because it goes back to what we hear a lot of our, or at least my favorite mentors say about taking action now. And the best way to build confidence is to keep those promises to yourself. And to me, what does that look like? That looks like doing the first thing. And then you have these small wins, and then you're able to do that next thing. And by the time you know it, it's the snowball effect. So first tip is create that momentum. That big thing that you are afraid to do it now so that you don't have to worry about it anymore. And then you can move on to the next. The second thing I would say is going back to observation. Do what I call a life audit. Really take inventory of your life and figure out what's working and what's not working. Because as good as it feels now, how much better can you be if you just become a little bit more aware of even what you like and don't like that's kind of in your life, that's your everyday mundane thing, whether it's the route that you go to work, whether it's the people that you're currently talking to that you feel, you know, great people, love them, but now I'm at this next level, and now I need to find a home in this other place that inspires me. And the third thing, again, it kind of ties in with it, which is environment. Are you placing yourself in a space to where you could grow? Right. So
yes, such good questions. Those are beautiful, beautiful questions. And I know you've worked a lot on your mindset through all this too. What are some non-negotiables, you know, to help you stay and make that positive difference in your life?
Non-negotiables are always going to, I feel like the first one would have to be invest in myself, because there's this thing I've been working on that I will openly share, because I feel like a lot of people would resonate with it. And that is money mindset. And it's very relative, right? You find those millionaires that just, it's not going to be enough until they hit billionaire status. Or maybe you're someone who's just started a business and you're like, if I could only make my first 2K this month, right? So it's all different. It's different for us all. But whatever that storyline is that we're telling ourselves, whether I'm at the lower peak of it or the high peak of it, wherever I'm at, I always need to be investing in me. And maybe that looks like a 25K mastermind one year. Maybe that looks like, you know, only a 2K thing. Whatever it is, I want to always be learning so that it contributes to the evolution of the 4.0 version of me. I'd also say reading. I'm really big with anything, with books, with audio. Big bookshelf in the back. I have 3 more, and I'm probably going to need to buy more in the future. Please tell me, like, when I read books, I just think what I think I know, let me know that I really don't, because I know there's so much that I need to learn still. So I just always want to be a student of life in that respect. And health is wealth. So anything that has to do with fueling my body the right way, working on my mindset, my emotional intelligence, how can I practice more empathy in my life? I feel like that helps you, especially with me being in business, because there's this part that could be a struggle of this, brain and heart coherence, or this the logical brain versus the emotional brain. And I always want those to be in sync. But in order to do that, I have to feed both in a positive way. So
True, very true. Yes. We just got back from our retreat and worked on a woman with an integration. It happens to be energy work in the field. And when you mentioned, the right and the left brain and the emotional brain and the logical brain, right? We can actually make people whole brain dominant with codes.
I cannot wait to learn more from you. First of all,
Like that's not that hard, but we forget that we have an energetic field.
yeah.
And in your model, to me, that's the environment,
Mm-hmm.
right? We have an energetic field. And if we're not paying attention to that and paying attention to our environment, then you could be, living in a not so beautiful place that doesn't feed your soul or feed your spirit. And then it's hard to create from that place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So absolutely. But we can do the whole brain dominant. But I love that you have very good questions and you're really aligned. So give us some of those favorite books. You've got all those books back there. What are you reading right now?
Oh my gosh. Well, right now I've taken a break from reading because I'm writing my second book. So I currently I'm writing.
Okay.
And what are some of I feel like anything Dr. Joe Dispenza, honestly, breaking the habit of being yourself is something that I reread all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then currently I'm on a Grant Cardone kick with his 10X rule, because I am going into the second year of a television show for the Great American Speak Off. And so I've been really trying to just learn everything 10X right now. So
Okay.
those are probably the two that I've been kind of fluctuating, kind of going back and forth with.
Oh, and can you give us a little clue or a tip about what the next book is about that you're writing?
Yeah, definitely. So I've made a promise to myself that I plan to write more books in between, but one of the first books that I published about 4 years ago, it's called Thriving into 30. And it's a 30 things guide for the growth mindset girl. And it's really an accumulation of everything that blew my mind that I learned when I dug into self-development only in 2018. I had no idea who Tony Robbins was until 2018. I had no idea of the beauty and depth of this world that would help me expand. And so I wanted to write a book about that because I didn't see anything out there. And when I was 29, getting into my 30s, I thought, all I want is some guidance. I need to grow. I don't know what to do. Simultaneously, that's when a lot happened in that time. And so now I've told myself I'm 35. I'm going to be writing a 35 things by 35, but this time I want it to be geared towards men and women. And I'm also speaking with and going to have people, just everyday people, contributing to this book on what they feel they've learned at 35 and what do they feel their future is like, so that we could all be in this together and hopefully everyone could find a piece of themselves and the scenarios that are going to be described by these human beings all around the world. And so I want to continue to do that at 35 now, then at 40, and just as long as I'll be able to write, and that's going to be the next one. I'll eventually have a book on my methodology, but lots of things in the works right now when it comes to both reading and writing.
Oh, I love that. And I love that you're doing it. So I'm older than you. So you're doing this young. So I'm just going to say that is completely awesome, because what great direction then, that you can help people of your age, have. Like, you wanted that book and you couldn't find it.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
And
so you're writing it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hope I do it some kind of due diligence, or at least even inspire other people to maybe do their own version of 30 things by 30 and do it 10 times better than me. It's like, let's put more books out there that women like us can go to when we want a mentor in a book. And
yes.
That's what
Yes.
I hope for.
I just love that. That's beautiful. That's really, really beautiful. Plus, if you get stories, I mean, I love stories too, Amber. When you get stories from other people about their journeys, that's inspirational. People like to read. It's all about storytelling. I'm here in New Mexico. Okay. We have the Native Americans here. It's all about storytelling.
Yeah, I
Right?
agree with you. And that's the kind of book that I would want to read. The first one was not like that. It was very much so, 30 chapters of the 30 things. And it was very all self-development based. This will be the same way, but it's going to be different because I'm different 5 years later. So,
Sure.
and I connect with what you're saying about storytelling. It's my favorite thing. And how beautiful of a journey to go to write this book, because then I really get to, kind of like you're doing with me now, have these conversations that you wouldn't have if you didn't have this amazing podcast. So
Yes, I love the conversations. I think people learn through conversation and through story.
I agree.
I mean, I was a special ed teacher for years, and it was really the stories.
Yeah.
That's what people hook on to when you speak.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be a good storyteller. Yeah, flipping into stories. Absolutely. You mentioned something here, and I don't know the definition of this, so I would love to ask you. You said there's a concept of hedonic adaptation and why it's important. What does that mean?
Yes. So this concept blew my mind, and I learned it from the professor that I was working with via Yale. And she has this amazing course called The Science of Happiness. And so we got to dig for how many weeks was it? 16 plus weeks. We got to dig into happiness. And I was like, how much is there to learn about happiness? And there's so much I learned, but one of the key takeaways was hedonic adaptation, pretty much to say that whether we experience the highest of highs or the lowest of lows, think about the person that goes through the most traumatic event you can think of in their life, right? Who have also experienced the polar opposite of having the most joyous times in life. Either way, hedonic adaptation is to say that we always have a baseline of happiness that we go back to. That's why when you accomplish a goal and then you're like, okay, but what's next? Well, I told myself I just wanted one book, but now I want to write the second book, or whatever that thing is for you.
Mm-hmm.
Hedonic adaptation. Isn't it beautiful to know that even if next week you feel like you're in a slump, you feel like you're stuck, it's like looking forward to that sunshine, that is coming. Your happiness will return to a baseline because that's how we're programmed. And yes, we're going to take the lessons from the moments of our joyous times and the bad times, but just having that peace of mind that baseline, you'll always return to it, is something that I hope to share in a bigger, better way, so that people have hope that if you're going through a bad time right now, it's going to get better.
It's going to get better.
Science says it, and it's proven. And it's not just your mom telling you, oh, it's okay, you're eventually going to heal from this. These are experts saying, you know what, you really will. And life may look a little different right now, but you're going to have that. You're always going to return to that baseline of happiness. It's called the hedonic treadmill. So we'll always go through these treadmills of the fluctuation of our emotions, but that's why I love the idea of fulfillment. Fulfillment is something that's sustainable, but when it comes to happiness and we have those ebbs and flows, the hope there, the silver lining, is that we will always return to its baseline.
Oh, I've never heard that, and I really like that. I approach it a little differently, I guess, because I look at patterns that can be changed and rewiring the brain. And yes, but I like that, because if you can have a set point that you can come back to and have that inner knowing, see, that's trust and acceptance.
Yeah.
Right. If you have an inner knowing that you're going to come back to that, and through life experiences, we learn that we will.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you're, as you learn and grow, you always know there's going to be those transition points. And those transition points are the biggest places of growth. They don't feel comfortable. They feel off. You'll feel not like yourself. And usually that just means that you're ready to reach the next level
Yeah.
of maybe happiness. And maybe it's not even a set point where you're just coming back to here. I'm using my
Mhm.
hand here on the tape, you guys.
Me too.
If you're
Yeah.
not saying this, you know, so it's like you're coming back to a set point, but it's really not the set point because you're really elevating now. So
Yeah.
you're like a little bit above that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I love what you were starting to say in the beginning too, about how you can switch your mindset and change that. And so I love that because I find that to be so true in my life currently, because what used to take me, say for an example, being frustrated in traffic, right? And it would just bother me all day. You know, I can't believe that one guy just we could have gotten a car accident. And you take this one moment that ends up lasting for a long period of time. But when you start to work on your mindset, what frustrated you in that moment literally only lasts that moment, and then you're over it because you know you don't want to spend your energy worrying about that thing. And so it's just interesting to me too, because the timeline of how those events could happen could be really different when you continue to evolve in your mindset. And I still have a long way to go, but that's what that made me think of. And I appreciate your perspective because it helps me to learn and to grow too. So
Yeah. Well, we're all learning and growing. You know,
yeah,
I learned from you, you learned from me. We learn on, you know, we learn through conversation for
yeah,
sure. Absolutely. And I love the fact that you're on this amazing growth path.
thank you. I'm really
Yeah.
grateful because you know they're just I feel like it's a blessing, and you don't know what you don't know sometimes. And I just don't know. I'm just grateful that I stumbled upon the self-development world, and I have the desire in my soul to want to grow. You know, there's so many people, like loved ones, that we wish we could, you know, help, or, you know, hey, you can get out of this. And as much as we want to help change or impact some people's lives, it always comes down to the individual. You always have to want to. So I'm just grateful that for whatever reason I desire to. And I'm grateful for that desire because not everyone has it. And I
Mhm.
don't take it for granted, you
Oh,
know?
that's beautiful. Yeah, that's really beautiful, Amber. You know, in your life, it sounds like you know, you've done a lot in your short years. And so I commend you for that. What were some of the challenging places where you kind of had to really take back your power?
That's a beautiful question. And like most people, I feel like I have many. I'd say that the top things that really have shaped who I am, that I had to really take back my power. One was when I went through definitely that business divorce. You know, I had this, you know, I came from a very, very, very humble beginnings. You know, my parents didn't even graduate high school. If I had kids and started a family really young, my parents would be happy with that because that's the what we had seen through our generation.
Mhm.
And um the idea of me traveling outside of our hometown was a really big, weird idea. And so coming to where I am now, having mentors along the way, building that business that was successful, that was a really big deal to me. And I had never been able to really provide for myself in that kind of way. And unfortunately, that relationship wasn't only toxic, but it was abusive physically.
Mhm.
And I never thought that, you know, I would be in that situation. And I really had to figure out what confidence looked like again, because I didn't have that. I had lost
Mhm.
confidence. When I closed the business, it's because I felt so unsafe that I felt like I had no other option. And so to figure out who I was again, that was the biggest moment. That's when I discovered this world of self-development. And that's why I coach now, because if I can help Amber from 2018 who was looking for those kinds of things, then that's just beautiful to me. That's a fulfilled life. But it took a while. It took some time. It took healing. It took beautiful friendships, people that loved me, whether I was, you know, quote unquote successful, right? Because we all get to define that for ourselves, or not, because I definitely wasn't at that point in time. Even though I had success,
Mhm.
it went all the way back down. And it took almost a year for me to pick myself up and say, you know what, I built a company twice at that point. And the first one, and so I could do it again. And then I proved to myself that I could. And now I know that I would be able to handle any rough situation again. But secondly, I know that I wouldn't put myself in that position because I know the value of myself, and I know what I won't tolerate, and I get to know all these things. And it's beautiful now that I'm healed from it, but back then I couldn't really see what the purpose was of all the hurt and pain. And so it feels really nice to be here now, but I needed to learn those hard lessons, which came in an unfortunate way. But I'm very proud that I was able to move through that and be the person that I currently am. And
Yeah, you did a great job. Honest, you did a really good job through that. And a lot of times when successful people, I think this, have to crash. I don't care if it's a business thing, a health thing, or something. When you talk to people, you'll find that they've had some big turning point in their life where they did have to learn and grow.
Yeah.
And you picked yourself up, you found the right help, it sounds like, for yourself, and turned it all around, and then started that company, your own company, and grabbed your confidence. You literally grabbed the bull by the horns and said, hey, I can do this.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Amber.
Thank you. I appreciate it. The alternative did not look good, and I just knew that I'd always regret if I didn't completely rise up, which was very messy for a little while. And now it's I have to kind of, I'm just so proud of the decisions I made years ago, and it inspires the action that I know I still need to take now. Because I'm like, oh gosh, can you imagine what Amber 5 years from now is how I'm going to be saying thank you for what I'm doing today that I don't want to do. And so I really try to use, have a positive frame of mind with everything. So
yeah. You taught yourself that. You learned that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are some tips on that for our audience here? What do you do to stay positive? So when that little voice comes in, that's kind of like trying to pull you over here. What does Amber do?
The first thing I do is honestly lean on the people that I love the most that are closest to me. And the weird thing about me is that when I'm venting or explaining a situation, I always tell my, I have like 3 loved ones that I always love to go to, and they know I just need a vent, because I don't like to be swayed with what direction I need to take in life, because I always end up taking the one my intuition tells me anyway. But just having someone that loves you no matter what, and the fact that they're spending time with you to listen and care, that's a really big thing. Even if it's something small, like, should I take that speaking gig? Should I move? Whether it's big or small, I talk to loved ones. And then I think fueling your body right is very important, because in my 20s, I had really bad coping mechanisms with things like stress, or, I do struggle with anxiety, which is very low now, but it used to be bad in my 20s. And just to have those healthy coping mechanisms. And when you build habits around that, then it's something so automatic that you realize, oh yeah, perfect. I just took a 2-mile walk because I didn't realize that I needed to kind of reset myself, my nervous system, for a little bit. So that helps.
Awesome. So you got some beautiful, beautiful tools.
Yes.
That you've learned and that you use and you employ and you help others with now as well.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. How about brain tips? What is a brain tip that you can leave us with that you use that has helped you in your life?
Brain tip. I wish that I knew for sure if this was directly correlated with a brain tip, but I would say something that's helped me transform massively is meditation. And I feel like that's more mindset, but to me, it's something that is nourishing for the soul and for the mind.
Mhm.
And any angst that is stuck in there, it just makes you become present. And I'm able to focus on all the good things. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. So you are a meditator. So you use meditation.
100%. Yes. I
Okay.
actually was, I talked about investing earlier with Dr. Joe Dispenza. I got to go to an advanced retreat in Mexico and really just learn the most beautiful meditations with him. It was the first time he did a 5-hour guided meditation straight with us. And we worked on activating the pineal gland.
Mhm.
And so I still have a lot of his meditations that I bring home that are about 30 minutes long. And I wish I could say I do it every day, but I don't. But a solid 3 times a week really helps me because, it's like, currently I'm running 3 different businesses, and outside of that, I have family life and other personal things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that helps keep me in check
Mm-hmm.
when I want to live in the future, or if I find myself dwelling in the past. It helps me just to be right here where I'm at.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's really beautiful. And kudos to you for all of your good work and all that you turned around in your life. And gosh, to be 35 and running 3 businesses and be successful, you're definitely somebody people are going to want to look up towards and follow for sure. And I know that you have a great Instagram account. We can find you there. What's that Instagram?
Yes, you could just find me at my name. It's at Amber Ybarra. So that's AmberYbarra. And that is my favorite place to hang out. So
Awesome. And I know you also have some kind of workbook, right? With the 101
yes,
of the remodeling you. How do we get that?
I do. Yes. If you want to shoot me a direct message on Instagram, just DM me success, and I'm happy to provide that workbook for you. It'll kind of help you have your own life audit and guide you through the 101 of the remodel you methodology.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, that's so awesome. Wow, you definitely guys, you want to get that workbook. So success is what you're going to DM Amber and her Instagram account here. And Amber, thank you so much for your time today and sharing and opening your heart with us and sharing your story here. You're doing such beautiful work. Congratulations.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I just want to acknowledge you for the work that you're doing. And it's inspiring to see what you've made into a career of helping people and impacting lives and having this conversation. It's what I desire to do for the rest of my life. And so just want to acknowledge the important work that you're doing in the world. Thank you.
No,
And I'm
thank you so
grateful to
much.
be here today with you.
Yeah, thank you. It's just been a gift. And then let us know about that book. So when that book comes out, we want to know. Okay.
Got it. Will do.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. And remember, everyone, follow your heart, but take your brain with you.